and welcome everybody to the 12 o'clock show with Mayor Joe, coming to you live from Slab. Obviously, it's a great space. This is going to be a lot of fun, so we're going to have some good questions. But first, I want to turn it over to the people that make all of this possible. So go ahead and introduce yourselves. Tell us about who you are and what you're doing here.
My name is Teron Nelson. I'm one of the owners here at Slab. We are just here dedicated to serving food to the community. We've been in business for about 6.5 years, and we look forward to keeping it going.
I'm Stephanie Morris. I'm the bar manager, serving lots of tasty drinks downstairs.
So, first of all, how did Slab start? Because you said you've been in business for 6 years, but it has not been at this location. So tell us how this whole thing started to get you to this point.
Well, in 2018, we bought a food truck. My brother and I created the menu, created the business. 2019 is when we actually opened. We did the food truck for about 2.5 years. Then we built a kitchen inside the Eastside Brewery over here off of Davidson Drive. I did that for about 3.5 years, and now we are here.
And the space is, talk about growing up from a small little kind of kitchen space that was there, and now you have an entire, that was it. So what, I think I know, but I want to ask you, because you know, what's the most popular item that's sold? What does everybody get? Not the happy drinks.
It's always popular. The most popular item is the Slab burger.
Okay.
It's a brioche bun, fresh ground burger patty, topped with Hawaii cheese. It has pulled barbecue rib meat on top of it.
Okay.
And onion straws, and it's topped with our signature slab sauce.
So that's what I was figuring what it would be. Now, do either of you have your own personal favorite thing?
I love the rib dip. It's like a French dip, but with red meat, and it's like crispy bread, gooey cheese, and we dip it in au jus. So.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna go for that one. How about you? And don't say all of everything. I know that.
I would honestly have to go with the Slab burger, but you can't go wrong with anything.
Oh no, you can't. Another one that's always kind of a popular, just the ribs in general.
Ribs in general, far right off the bone.
It's one of those things when I've been here on a number of occasions, somebody who I'm with has probably gotten those. I don't, because usually when I'm here I'm wearing this. And it's just like roll the dice on if I'm going to get a bunch of rib sauce all over everything.
The ribs are what started it all.
Yeah, that's definitely it. So we have a couple of things that are coming up here. One, we've got the DORA, the Designated Outdoor Refreshment Area. That's going to kick off on September 12th with our Booze and Brews, and we know that you guys are going to participate to some extent in all of that. So you talked about it. What are you excited about for that? Obviously, this is right up your alley.
I think I'm excited for like the community involvement. Like it brings our town like closer together, really, because you can just walk all over the place, and it doesn't stop people from having a drink here and then visiting another establishment. I think it's really fun to do.
It's nice. I think it's and we've got such a nice mix of restaurants around here where it's nice to be blunt. You don't have anybody competing and selling the same stuff that you guys are doing. So you've got Prost, you've got Vic's, you guys, and then over at East Side now, a new place has opened up over there. So they're all kind of complementary to each other, so it's not a competition. If you don't like any of that, then you just get ice cream. But I appreciate it because, as you've noticed, I've already been here a couple of times for lunch, and when I have the opportunity to schedule a working lunch, here we go. It's a nice walk out all the way down. Do you guys have anything else coming up that you want to let everybody know about?
Yeah, I think that we want everyone to know that we're going to do Scarlet Gray Saturdays, watching the Bucks play with the volume on. We'll have some draft specials, so definitely come out and check that out.
It's a lot of fun, and there is parking in the whole town.
There is parking.
I get a kick out of it. Some people say that they're not familiar, they haven't driven on Main Street for whatever reason, but you've got a lot of parking spaces, 39 of them as a matter of fact, just next door, plus a limited parking right behind, plus you have Memorial Plaza, so there's plenty of parking here. And this place on Thursday, like I said, we talked about earlier, on Thursday and Friday night, this whole area was
awesome.
Yeah, it was great. It's exactly what we kind of envisioned with all of this. So.
We really appreciate the support from everybody.
Hey, you had to put up with our building and zoning department, so you've earned a little payback from us to come here for lunch. So
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. It won't be the first time. I invite everybody to come out to Slab. They're open every day but Monday, and they close 6 p.m. on Sundays.
Yes.
And then everywhere else, that's the rest of it. So come on out, enjoy some of those suggestions. I am also partial to the pretzels, just because for an appetizer. So I appreciate it.
I appreciate you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. We'll see you. Now they got to go because they got a lunch rush. So we're actually upstairs at Slab right now because we didn't want to get in the way of everything.
Thank you all.
Thank you. But this is one of those wonderful times where I actually have the opportunity to have two guests. And we're going to have Shannon Mulligan from Moms Demand Action coming in. We've talked with this group before. I'm appreciative of you coming here. You don't have to have lunch when you're done, but it's...
I'm going to have
Yeah, there you go. I think that would be a good thing. Well, I do appreciate you coming here. You and I, we've had this scheduled for a little bit of a time.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate that it's not like we planned it, but there was yet another school
Yes,
shooting,
yes.
and then just a few weeks ago, and we're kind of back to that same thing. So let's just start out with some really, really easy questions
Okay.
before I go off pontificating about something. Tell us about Moms Demand Action. What is it that what is the organization about?
Sure. Again, thanks for having me. I'm Shannon Mulligan. I'm with the local Columbus group of Moms Demand Action, and we are the largest gun violence prevention movement in the country. There's over 10 million of us around the nation, and we work to advocate for common sense gun legislation. We work to normalize the conversation around secure storage, why if you have a weapon, it's important to store it securely, and also then to tie gun violence to suicide awareness and prevention, which is one of the reasons why I'm here today. But yes, tragedies like what happened last week and school shootings in general are just that. They are preventable tragedies in our opinion. However, it's not the majority of the gun violence that happens in our country. So again, while it's very tragic that children are shot and killed in our country, it's obscene to even say those words out loud. It's really not the bulk of the problem we have in this country. But,
It just tends to, for lack of a better term, it tends to get the headlines.
It does. It does.
But you see something that wasn't a school shooting. You saw just the other day in Texas, a kid was doing something that a lot of kids have done in the past. They were basically playing ding dong ditch. They ring the doorbell and run away. And
Yes.
at this particular place it happened. And a kid lost his life because he was playing. What we all know at our, as we get a little older, that it's just a stupid prank. But apparently that's not where we're at right now. So we'll see what happens with that. But definitely it's a worthwhile organization. If somebody wants to get involved and they've seen this and they're like, you know what, I've had enough, I want to do something, I want to turn, as they say, I want to turn thoughts and prayers into action.
Yep.
What exactly, how could they get involved?
So you can get involved really easily here locally. The easiest way is to download our Demand Action app. You can find it on your app store. It's just called Demand Action, and it shows you all the events that we're having locally, and then they do lots of things at the national level virtually via Zoom. And it also can connect you to, if you are really frustrated about things that are stagnant at the federal level, how you can call and talk to your representatives. But that's the best way. We're actually having our September supporter meetings on the 20th of September. That's happening at the Worthington Library on the Northwest location, which is on Hard Road. And we're going to be talking about the facts and myths around suicide and highlighting our work around suicide prevention, because it is National Suicide Prevention Awareness Month. September is dedicated to that.
And it's interesting because you mentioned that again, it's not just one thing. I know again, school shootings tend to take up the majority of headlines, but it's the other effect of it as well. I know that our police department, when we had the Tomato Festival, we had a number of gun walks that they're standard. They're always at our booth. They're always there.
That's great.
RPD does that, and they offer lessons as far as safe storage. But one thing that I've seen, you mentioned about storing weapons safely. When you get the criminal reports, as I do on a regular basis, and you realize how many people don't secure their weapons outside of time, how many times I've seen some come across my desk that a gun was stolen from the person's car and they somebody was going in, and we've seen ring cameras where the first spot that everybody's looking is right underneath the driver's seat, and then the area in between the driver's seat and the center console. So those are things that's something that is not an anti-gun. This is not like the opposite, right? This is not something that is controversial. It's, if you're going to have a gun, own it responsibly, take care of it, because that in itself prevents it. Because now all of a sudden we have all of these other guns that were not intended to be used for crimes that are purposely being stolen for that particular purpose. And something has to be done about it.
Yes.
Cities, and this is where I get to get off on my own little rant a little bit. Cities don't have that opportunity anymore.
No.
The state of Ohio is taken away from us. We had legislation that was working its way through. We're actually on a second read about a misdemeanor charge for parents who let their kids have access to the guns, and those guns were used in the form of a crime. and would have been a misdemeanor against the parents for allowing that to happen. And it was stopped because in the state of Ohio, there are no rules. It's, you know, that's not even something that you can even comprehend. And I've never found somebody in any way, shape, or form, be it the most anti-gun or the most pro-gun person, I've never found somebody that said, you know what, that's a dumb idea, we shouldn't do that. And it boggles the mind that we cannot even have a conversation about those things.
Well, yes, it is extremely frustrating because the majority of people, I mean, we as Americans, as we know, it's a real struggle to agree on lots of things, and particularly right now during the time we're living right now. But anywhere from 80 to 95% of people agree that there should be a background check on every gun sale. And it's very frustrating as an advocate and as someone that's been doing this work since 2016 that we can't progress even just what I feel are basic measures across the finish line. I could go into a whole long diatribe this live would not be long enough for as to why that is, but I think the majority of the problem is the gun lobby, the extremist gun lobby here, particularly in the state of Ohio, has had the microphone, has had the money, and has had the voice of our legislators at the State House, and that's what's gotten us to where we are today. Again, it's not everyday gun owners. It's not. It just really isn't. It's the extremists that are really this pro-guns everywhere agenda, and that's really what it is. They want guns everywhere.
And I do think that there's also something to be said, because I see it on the other side of things, where people who are not supposed to have guns, that are, whether they have committed a previous crime and they're not allowed to have guns, or they committed some sort of an act with a gun, and sometimes the judicial system does not work the way that it is supposed to keep those guns out of the hands of people that are there. And there's something to be said from that. There are times where I talk to police officers and my chief where something like that happens, and somebody who commits, in essence, a crime with a gun is back out on the streets in a relatively short period of time. And we all know that guns are going to be prevalent in society. They find something else and it goes right back to it. So I don't think it's any one thing. I think what you're saying is it's a little bit of your own personal responsibility for maintaining safety. It's working with your state and federal level. It's common sense. It's understanding all of these other different things. But right now, I feel like we just can't even get past some of the early stuff to really address the bigger pictures.
Yes, it's a very complex problem. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, secure storage is the only answer, or if we ban weapons, that's the only answer. If we do, it's a very complex problem that should be come at from many different approaches. It's why the federal government during the last administration made an office around it and tried to push that it was a health crisis. The city of Columbus has mandated that they view it as a public health crisis, so then money and programs can be directed at it as a public health crisis, because it is. Well, it's over 1,700 people a year die in Ohio from guns, majority of them from suicides. 56% of the gun violence that we see in the state is suicides. So it also runs against every talking point and data point that extremists want to harbinger and say that, well, it's only a city problem, well, it's just people, certain types of people are just out there shooting each other. It's not the case. It's suicide is 3x the problem in rural areas. So if they really were serious about wanting to do something about gun violence and suicide prevention in particular, they would probably look in the mirror in their own home and in their own districts about what they can do to help prevent suicide.
And there's things that can be done, because mental health, we know, it was not that it was non-existent prior to COVID, but I think COVID has definitely warped things around to a point that it's highlighted everything. And you're right, it's such a huge thing, and we all need to do a better part of it.
And it starts with storing guns securely. It really does. If you have, and there's obviously, the spectrum of how you deal with somebody with suicidal crisis, but if somebody is in that moment, if they are in crisis, there should be ways, if they have weapons in their home, for a family member in concern to be able to remove them legally from their home. Those red flag laws people talk about. Unfortunately, we don't have one here in Ohio yet. But it also could be just that if people have a weapon in their home, they are storing it securely, because maybe that split second, right? They go the same as if you go from the idea of the actual ideation is very small. If they tried to do it and there was a lock on the gun, maybe they would stop.
Give that moment of clarity.
Yes, and it could save a life. So And you brought up obviously about guns, and everybody talks about, well, how are these kids getting guns? How are these teenagers getting? I'm like, they're stealing them out of your car because you think storing it in your car is safe, secure storage. It's not. And that's where all these guns have gotten on the street, and they're being used in crimes. It's an epidemic. I know, particularly the city of Columbus. I'm sure the police here in Reynoldsburg have seen the uptick in here. So if you're storing it in your car, that's fine, but it should be stored in a lock in your car. You should have a cable lock around it in your car. So just storing it in your car locked is not secure storage.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. I wish you didn't have to, no offense. I wish you came in for something.
I wish we didn't exist either, right?
But for you to be an organization like that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and I do have a proclamation I'm going to present. Some people are happy with reading it. Other people are like, please don't, and things of that nature, just because it is a relatively long. But we'll get this out there. We wanted to proclaim August 25th through 29th as Smart Week to deal with this issue, but obviously council was, absent at that point in time.
Right.
And then with that, but I did want to present you with this proclamation.
Thank you so much
for this, because again, the city of Reynoldsburg, and we're going to get our little photo op over there too.
Oh, great.
So.
I'm going to scoot closer so the microphone's not.
What, you don't like the fuzzy microphone in the frame?
We're just going to scoot back. Okay.
This is great TV, by the way.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, Mayor Joe. We really appreciate your support. And you've been a long-time supporter of Montana Action, our message, and I know it's an important issue to you, and it means a lot to us. That
we'll continue to work together and find ways to advocate.
Thank you.
I'm hoping that at some point in time we'll all kind of realize, hey, this doesn't have to be the complex issue that it is.
I hope so too.
All right, go get some lunch.
Thanks again.
Thank
you so much.
All right, so ladies and gentlemen, it is a wonderful time to be back after a little bit of a vacation. So we got lots of things to catch you up on. Next thing is Reynoldsburg City Schools. We have our next board meeting on September 16th, which is just about a week and a half away, and that'll be at City Hall. Beyond that, we have the Reynoldsburg Police Department is actually going to be, let me see if I get my picture here, we're going to have Shop with a Cop. The Reynoldsburg Police Department is now accepting donations for Shop with a Cop. You can get some gift cards from Meyer on Broad Street and then turn those into the police department by November 25th, so that way you can go ahead and get that information out there and support it. It's a great program. If you saw the looks of the kids' faces when these things were going on, it's a huge thing, and it means the world to them, and our officers do a great job with that. I do have a couple of other visits coming up on Thursday, September 18th. We're going to have the Franklin County Auditor visiting Reynoldsburg at the Reynoldsburg Library from 5:30 to 7:30, and that's again on September 18th. They're going to be there, and they're going to talk about everything property tax. No, wait, don't start forming a line yet. We know that there's going to be another triennial evaluation of property taxes coming up, and I know Auditor Stenziano will be there, and I know he's got some hardcore plans to actually put in place to help alleviate some of the property tax issues. I know he's advocated at the state level for it, so hopefully we'll see some movement there. But if you have questions about property taxes and anything with the auditor's office as well, it's a great opportunity for that. With that, we've got updates on roads. Wagner Road, if you haven't noticed, the curbs are in and they're doing the approaches, the concrete approaches for everything on the west side. Once those approaches are done, which should be later this week, early next week, we're going to see paving on that side of the road, and then everything's going to switch over to the other side. So we're still on track to have two-way traffic open at Wagner Road starting in sometime in late October to November. Again, weather depending, which we've had a pretty good run of weather, so that's a good thing to have. We did have a couple of questions. The first one comes from a resident asking about something that's not technically Reynoldsburg, an update from the City of Columbus and ODOT on the construction of Broad Street. For the most part, I like the fact that this is not my project, because obviously it's a huge thing. So they are doing very similar to what we're doing on Wagner Road, is they're adding one additional lane on either side, and they're also going to be doing some extending sidewalks and things of that nature. Their program is a little bit further behind than what we are. They're on their own schedule, but they are trying to kind of get that taken care of and worked on. So we'll continue to update you as that goes in. I think what they're doing right now is, if you notice, they're getting ready to put in the retaining wall on the north side of Broad Street, where that's where they're going to focus in, and then they'll probably do some transfer movements and go back over to the other side. But that is being worked on to again allow for some of that easier transportation. Also got a great question. We've had questions about something called the BRT, Bus Rapid Transit. We've been talking about it for a long time here, but every now and then some things come up because new situations arise. This was a question about a study on how existing businesses will be impacted after completion of the project. So Coda and I did have a couple of conversations about it. So what the conversations focused on was how do they get through the construction phase, not necessarily what happens after the fact. Their construction phase is hard to navigate because of all the other activity going on. But I will revisit with them to find out something. What I truly believe is the better indicator is a more apples to apples comparison between us and a couple of routes in Indianapolis as part of the Indigo program. That's the one that literally, if you didn't travel to Indianapolis with us on a field trip and you just kind of woke up and were there, you might not have been able to tell the difference between some of the roads there and what they are here. And to talk with some of those business owners and get that information, which is what I hope Coda can get there. So that's what I'm going to continue to advocate for. I know that they have better access than I can get. I can get on the Indigo website and pull some things, but I'm pretty sure Coda has a better connection with them. So we'll continue to advocate for that. The rest of the BRT is going to be a conversation that continues on. We had a couple of open house town hall meetings about the process, and as we talked about, Coda is saying that they are 60% done with their plans. It's a very soft 60%. They have a generic idea of what's going on for everything, but not everything has been decided beyond a couple of basics. There are going to be dedicated bus lanes between roughly Haft and Main and Bryce. Their intersections have not been determined yet about how that's going to work. We're not talking about the lane coverage specifically because we have not gotten some of the traffic data, or some of it that we have gotten we're still in the process of reviewing. I know Coda has a number of public town halls in Whitehall, Bexley, and there's an online one as well. Now those are obviously going to be very specific to those locations, not necessarily to Reynoldsburg, but the same conversations are going on. The city of Columbus, Reynoldsburg, and Bexley, and Whitehall, we've all had meetings together, and we're all about the same point where we're together on this as far as how this process should work moving forward. So we'll continue to have those public meetings, we'll continue to advertise them all the way across. Keep in mind we're trying to make it the least intrusive issue in the city of Reynoldsburg as we can, while still basically following the guidelines as presented by the county initiative that was passed by the voters. So I'll take a deep breath right there and ask if there are any questions.
There's one, and they would like to know, what is the new fence at Huber Park for?
New fence at Huber Park.
It says pins, so I don't know if maybe they're grassing the area?
They might be putting some different grass in there after the Tomato Festival, kind of restoring certain things, but I don't think there's any new fencing that's going there. If it's in the area where like the Huber restoration was going, they may have done some of that just to kind of block some things, but there's nothing specifically active in terms of that. But considering we're not that far from it, we may walk there on the way back today instead of going straight back to the office and figure it out. Anything else? No. All right, so we'll go ahead and move on to the next fun thing. Streets Part 2. We will have our bid opening for some of the roads in the Licking County side coming up on Friday, and then we'll have that on council's agenda on Monday. Have to go through 2 reads, and then we can hopefully get some of those courts in the Licking County side of Reynoldsburg taken care of. And we're still working through our major 26 program. We have a lot of roads. So basically, the priority roads are going to be this. We know there are a lot of roads that are bad in Reynoldsburg, and we are going to try and address as many of the bad roads as possible. But to get as many roads possible done as we can, we're looking for those that have the worst roads but better curbs, because the real cost in this sometimes comes when you have to do a lot of curb replacement. So there are a number of places that we're looking at right now that kind of fit that mold, that's on our agenda, and it's going to be spread throughout the entire city of Reynoldsburg where they're hitting certain things. I know I'm pushing for the entrance of Broadwin in Berkey that is east of Grand Road. That area and kind of little connector all the way through, that is definitely one of the ones that I'm trying to push for, along with a number of others. So that's what we're going to work with. But ultimately the goal is to try and get as much of that done over the next couple of years, now that the bigger projects like Wagner's kind of been taken care of as far as financing. All right, with that, we'll kind of move on to some other things. We've got a lot of parks programming stuff. We have the first Friday Food Flicks and Fun. This Friday, it's from 6 to 8:30 at Huber. It's going to have Kung Fu Panda, and the Little Big Band of Columbus is going to perform there. We also have the nighttime tours of the Livingston House. The next one is going to be September 26th, just as we're about ready to kick off my favorite time of the year, Halloween. And yes, I'm already working on my costumes, and my wife is thrilled at what I'm looking at. So we've got September 26th from 9 p.m. to 12 a.m. We also have adult prom. It's kind of like dressing up, but not exactly for Halloween, but that'll be Friday, October 10th from 6 to 9. And yes, we will crown a king and queen, so if you're able to attend, hopefully you can be there for that. Also want to give you an update. We are still collecting single-use plastic bags. We're up to about 605 pounds this cycle, which I think really started in February, March. So we're doing really well with that. We want to keep that going. You can bring them into either RPD, they're open 24 hours in their receptacle, or over at City Hall during the regular business times. And then, of course, my favorite event for my assistant Jessica, who loves this one, is Pioneer Day. It's kind of where you get to go back in time and see what life was like back when Livingston was around. That'll be Saturday, September 20th from 11 to 2. Lots of all fun things in there. You'll have some farm animals and people in costume and stuff like that, so that's a good one. Any questions coming in? I saw nothing? Okay. Bryce Park, the curbs are in at Bryce Park, which means the 3-year park project that should only have taken a year is getting closer to being done. Hope to have a grand opening for that probably sometime before October, but everything is getting there because we're going to put the asphalt in and for the parking and all of that relatively soon. Did see a question on social media earlier about Einstein's Bagels. We're looking at a tentative opening September 9th right now, so we'll see exactly if that's going to be the case, but that's their goal. And then we have other events. You did hear about the Dora kickoff, which is going to be on the 12th, and that's kind of coinciding with our Blues and Brews. That is at Huber Park, and we've got a bunch of different musicians going on. We've got Bobby Floyd, Sean Carney, Austin and the Sid Experience as well. There's some corn, some food trucks in there, Liberty Kettle Corn, Little Italy Restaurante, Roaster, Schmitz, and Valverde. Or you can go ahead and walk around in our Dora area and come to a place like Slab, Prost, Vicks, all the way across, and make sure you get some ice cream at the end, so it's that environment. And I believe we're going to have kind of like a sip and shop type of experience as well. We're going to have some vendors in that area, but I'll have more information on that as soon as I have it. So I think that's still kind of being worked out on that one. We do have something coming up next weekend as well. The Lions Club is having a pet food drive. We always know that the Lions Club and other organizations do food drives for food and non-perishable items, but at this time the Lions Club is going out of their way to take care of basically other members of our families. Times are tough, and we want to make sure that our cats and dogs and everything else that's there have the opportunity. Because if you have a cat, you know that they're incredibly finicky, and they've never been fed ever, and they'll meow anything to prove it. So make sure you kind of go out and support that one with the Lions Club. We also have the VFW's POW and MIA ceremony. That's going to be on Friday, September 19th. And I also want to mention, we talk about the Masons Breakfast. It's usually the last weekend of the month. I did not know if you knew this, but the VFW actually does have breakfast every weekend. So what I'm thinking about doing is maybe getting together, if some people would like to join in, and one weekend go out to the VFW and have breakfast out there and support their organization. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you let me know. We'll try and coordinate. We can talk about all things, everything, but it'll be early enough before Ohio State football plays because nobody's missing that. So also have the Fire Marshal Festival this weekend. I actually talked to the Fire Marshal today. It's going to be a huge thing. They had about 2,000 people there last year, so it's going to be fun. You're going to see all sorts of different fire truck equipment. There are actually going to be 5 current or former fire marshals in there as well. No Fire Marshal Bill, but we'll see what happens with the rest of it. We also have Unplugged in the Park on September 21st at Quarry Park. And Reynoldsburg's own national treasure, yes, Lou Vane will be in attendance, and he'll be doing a great show there. So hopefully you can come on out. I know I'm going to try and round up as many of our staff to come out that night because it's such a fun time. With that, I do want to talk about some other cool things. We know that this is an election year, and we do have a Meet the Candidate night coming up. We're going to start seeing this now that Labor Day is over. The Reynoldsburg Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring a Meet the Candidate night for our auditor, council, trustee, and school board members. It's going to be Tuesday, September 23rd from 6:30 to 8:30-ish. We're trying to verify who our MC is going to be, but it's somebody that's a good friend of Reynoldsburg. Hopefully he will be able to make it out because we think his extra caffeinated spirit will do a good job at this particular event. But it's a great opportunity to hear from the candidates themselves, answers to questions and things like that, very similar to other programs in the past. While we're talking government, because you know I love that, currently the state of Ohio is going to be looking to do some redistricting for the congressional level, and there's this word called gerrymandering. So I thought I'd give you just a very brief discussion about that. So I'm going to show you a picture of what Reynoldsburg's map looks like. Reynoldsburg is broken up into 4 wards. Each ward is about the same amount of population, and it's kind of geographic. If you notice in there, they're all kind of like square-shaped for the most part. Some of the blank areas you see in there might be areas at Ventura Township that haven't been brought into the city or things like that. But that's kind of the idea. So the big question that's going around about this thing called gerrymandering is that when people who have the opportunity to dictate how everything is laid out, that they do it in favor of one political party or another. When Reynoldsburg went through this a few years ago, it was determined that that was the best case because it was, again, pretty much equal in population, pretty much equal in the way that the shapes looked. It almost was like a grid function. If you get a chance, take a look at what the state current diagrams out for gerrymandering in the state of Ohio, and pretty sure that you're not going to find a lot of those kind of commonalities where there's going to be population may be the same, but it's all kind of in zigzaggy shapes all the way across. So your state representatives are going to be working on redoing those boundary lines, and there's going to be a question, you may have seen of what's gone on in Texas and California and other states about trying to align the districts in a way that benefit one political party or another. I guess my question is this: if you're okay with that and you think that that's a good thing, would you be okay if I did that in Reynoldsburg and arranged it in a way that favored one particular political party over another? And if you're not okay with that happening here in Reynoldsburg, I'm pretty sure you shouldn't be okay with it when it happens in the rest of the state, be it at the federal level or the state level. There's ways to do it, but for whatever reason, and we all know what they are, that has not happened. Now, I can't say what happens in other states that are controlled by Democratic legislatures because that's not what Ohio is. But the question is, because somebody else is doing it doesn't always necessarily mean that you should do it as well. But again, take a thought for that and think, is that really the direction that you want the state of Ohio to go? And if you do you think that's the way Reynoldsburg should go? Because I don't believe it should be. I think it should be done in a more fair and equitable way. But that's just my opinion. So with that, that is the end of that particular conversation. Any last second questions, comments, anything fun coming up?
Are there any plans for new businesses next to Sheets on Main?
Yes, we're still waiting on a couple of things. They're going through a process to secure their financing. Not exactly sure what's going in there because it's a little bit different. There's a part that's kind of off Main Street that might be one thing, and the frontage part on Main Street might be more traditional things that you would see like in a commercial area. But we haven't got anything specific yet. We just know that they're working on that, along with about a dozen other locations. So, good question. I like that one. That's it? All right. So I've been staring at this menu for a little bit, so I know what I'm doing after we get off the show. But again, next week we're going to be back at it. We're going to be back in office. We're going to have Reynoldsburg City School Board member Neil Whitman, who will be here to talk about all things school related, including questions you might have about busing, school finance, Hannah Asher, all the different things that are going on in there. But he'll be in office to kind of answer those questions, so make sure you get them lined up. Because school has already started. It's been in for a few weeks, and who knows what's going to happen next. Raiders are off. They are away this week, so there's no football game in town this week, but you also have the Macedonian Festival, so hopefully you can go check that out. I know I'm looking forward to some of the desserts there. For everything else, stay safe, stay respectful, and we got a last second question.
You got a last second question. What about the old Joanne fabrics?
Oh, that is a good one, and it is. I'm very happy about this because if you know me, I'm a big country guy, and they're actually going to have the Boot Depot is going to go there, so it's going to be all kind of boots. It's not just going to be country boots and fashion boots. They're going to have that, but they're also going to have some work boots and some country themed things as well. I know they're working on things right now. Hopefully they'll get open before the big shopping season. But Joann's is locked in. I know you were probably hoping for a Halloween store, the Spirit Halloween. You might have to go all the way, unfortunately, to Pickerington for that, or down at Easton, because I know that's what I was looking for, but somebody already snagged that one ahead of time. All right, if there's no other questions, stay safe, stay respectful, everybody. And as always, please put your shopping carts away, especially because it's nice out. You should be able to do so. We'll see you, everybody. Bye.